Mr. Pickles, how are you?
I am fantabulous. Welcome. I figured we'd try a countdown video because that's what all the cool kids do. But ours was only 30 seconds.
But I still felt the anticipation.
Did you?
I did. I did. My heart was racing.
Yeah.
I felt the dopamine dumping in the back of my brain.
I was doing my little Mr. Pickle dance all by myself.
You need a partner. You need a partner to pickle.
Woo! Miss me. Miss me. Woohoo!
All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to the Jim and Dean Show. Is this our first episode of the year, or have we done one?
No, we had to, for good reason, we were off for a couple of weeks.
That's right.
We had the holidays, and then we had that special thing, that launch we did.
Well, there you go. And then we had stuff, and then we had bonus webinars we were doing, and then OFA. I'm doing the OFA with Russell. The OFA.
I want to hear that because that's been pretty big in your life right now. The One Funnel Away Challenge, brand new, live. Very cool.
That is true. But let's acknowledge the folks. Welcome, everybody. Happy New Year. It is the 19th, but we haven't seen you. Mr. Pickles is back and bigger and greener and saltier than ever. Though I did have somebody on a live we did call him Mr. Penis in the comments. I was shocked. I was shocked.
Yeah. And I think that was on a ClickFunnels comments, which is even more shocking.
Woo! Yeah, it's one thing to do it here, but it's another thing
where
to do
it's
it
loud.
there. Yeah.
This is like PG, and they're very Disney G over there.
Yeah, that's like not Robin Williams Disney either. It's straight up Snow White G.
Yeah.
Old school G. So, what was your question?
I don't think there was ever a question. There was a statement that could be taken as a rhetorical question, which is you've been really busy doing One Funnel Away, right? You've been, Russell's been teaching the training and kind of handing it over to you for the copywriting aspect. And it's kind of it's a very different and special way that, that the content is being delivered. So I want you to talk about that and let people know, because I think they'll get a lot out of it.
So it's interesting to see Russell's doing something that I really respect, that he is teaching the One Funnel Away Challenge himself live this time. He is the one teaching the main lessons, the strategy, a lot of the tactics. And I told him, and I said, dude, I would love to be the one who teaches the copy for this. And it's exciting, but it's been a lot of work. And today especially was a lot of work with what was done, because today was kind of like, hey, you're going to make a sales letter today. And so since yesterday, I was putting a ton of time and energy and effort into trying, how do you teach somebody to write a sales letter in as short a time as possible? And it was interesting falling back on the whole framework thing of what is the framework for a sales letter. And, I came up with the 13 points that typically you want to have in there. And then I had to break down the framework for each one and figure out, okay, how could I teach somebody how to do a headline? How do you teach somebody super fast to do a VSL with the who, what, why, how script? How do you teach somebody to do a story? How do you, all these things, but by breaking it down into the individual building blocks, it actually was easier than I thought it would be, but it was a lot of time, energy, and effort. But go ahead.
No. And here's one of the things about a little insight into how Russell works. Russell is just brilliant showing up. You turn on a camera and everything comes out almost in a final version right out of the can.
Let him go. Yeah.
That's all you do. He's an Energizer bunny. He's brilliant. And the thing is, that's the way he'll operate sometimes with the people that he works with. So he won't know, he won't know maybe what he's going to talk about. He'll have an idea until just, hours or maybe minutes before he goes up. And then he'll say, oh, Jim, I just got it. Here's what I want you to do. So Jim has got to be able to duplicate in a very short period of time
And
how to create copy, figure out what script would be best to use for this challenge,
or make a new
for
script.
this lessons, or create a new script. So it's pretty amazing because you've got to think and create on the fly just like he does. Even though you're very good at it, but anybody else, you've got to fit in with that sort of modus operandi of way of working.
Yeah, but it's been like a giant episode of Funnel Fridays, which is pretty cool. But it's like a Funnel Fridays goes for 30,
Every
45
day,
minutes. It's been Funnel Fridays every day, which is pretty cool. And I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity because it's forcing me to really stretch. It's forcing me to really think, and it's putting me under the gun. So a lot of times with doing this stuff, I will sit for I'll let something percolate for a couple of weeks and think on it, make little notes, and then it'll all come to me and I'll sit down and do it. Ain't doing that this time. It's, hey, it needs to be ready, and it's got to be done by about 9 a.m. Mountain time, which is 11 a.m. our time. So luckily I get up at 4 in the morning.
Yeah. But here's the cool thing about that. One, you're working and get to learn from one of the best marketers on the planet.
Sure.
Right. You get to see how he works, and it does force you, and you realize what would normally take you, I would take 2 weeks to do this. You've learned to condense this. I can do this in 2 hours, and you don't have time to think about it. Right. So it's better to get it done than to get it perfect. And you find that when it gets done, it's like, hey, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Pretty darn good.
Now I can take 2 weeks to tweak it. No, I'm just playing. But that's a lesson for everybody who's going through the challenge too, though, is the first done imperfectly is always better than perfect planning. I don't know if I'm saying that the right way, but getting something done is always better than getting ready to do it perfectly, because it's never going to be perfect. And if you just let go of that internal voice that's like, well, is that okay? And the internal editor, the whole, is that right? Is that as good as, do I really? And if you just have to let go of that and say, you know what, I just got to get it done. And one of the things that I have found, if this is helpful for any of you all listening, is especially for creating content or creating videos or creating, your VSL or just getting it done. Literally, I'll get the intention in my head and then I hit the record button and I have to start talking. It's like when I work out. I don't know if you can hear this noise. Can you hear this? You hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's my stopwatch. And when I hear that stopwatch start, that is my signal. That's my cue, my mental cue that it's time to start working out. Because the stopwatch is going, and the longer I wait, the longer it's the worse my time is gonna be, and my whole competitive nature kicks in because I've tied it to that. And it's like, hey, I'm gonna push record, and I'm just gonna start, and you can't let anything stop you.
Run, Forrest, run.
Yeah, exactly. But the other thing that I didn't tell you is this morning we had a power outage while I was in the middle of making these videos. So I had to go fire up the generator. It happened in the middle of making a video. I had to go fire up the generator. This is honest to God, true story, man. So the generator's supposed to come on, but something happened and it was coming on and turning off, and coming on and turning off, coming on and turning off, because something's going on something that usually happens when there's a branch beating on the one weathered old line that feeds the whole county here in, bum beep Egypt. And so I finally was just like, screw it, ran outside in my little bunny slippers, and I turned on the generator so it just wouldn't turn on or off anymore, and came back in and did the rest of the videos. And it may not sound like anything, but it could have been a major mental derailer, if that makes sense. But if you've got the deadline and you've got the purpose and you've got people waiting and there's a real consequence for not getting it done, you'll be amazed at the stuff that might ordinarily stop you that you don't even stop to think about. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And we have this ability to block out all that stuff at any time. It's a choice, right? Not, we don't want to, as somebody says here, you got to, we're our hardest and harshest judge. And it's really important to put that voice aside and just focus and get it done. And like Namita says, done beats perfect.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
So how do you stay on, because you do a lot of client work, you have a lot of tight deadlines and stuff for writing copy for ClickFunnels. How do you get the stuff done and not get behind?
I will, I'll set these almost imaginary goals for myself. Like I'll say, I can't eat lunch until I get these 3 emails done. I have to do that. And I also look, and I know all the other stuff that I really want to get to or need to do. And I go, if I want to do that, I don't want to bring it over to tomorrow. I don't want to keep kicking the can down the road because I know what that feels like. And it always feels like you're behind. And I do not like stuff sitting on my desk. I just don't. I'm a stickler for deadlines. That's one of my, I would say, obsessive compulsive things is that I got to get stuff done. I don't miss deadlines. So let's say, today I just got from a client, I got to write a challenge funnel for somebody, the sales page, the order page, thank you page, Facebook ad. And this client wants it by February 1st. Typically and I said, look, this is a rush.
Wow.
So you got to get this intake. I'm sending you an intake form. If you want this, if you're launching by February 1st, that means you're going to have this sales letter by next week.
And this costs extra.
And yes. And I'll have this sales letter done probably by Saturday, Friday or Saturday. I do, because I'll take the biggest thing first. That's what I do. I don't start small. I'll start with the BHAG first, right? The big hairy ass goal thing first. Get that off my plate, because everything else after that is a walk in the park compared to that. And everything else flows from the big thing. Whether
we should make Fill My Challenge Funnel and
I've got
fill my challenge funnel scripts, and then we'll do the one avatar and then tell them I'll have this for you in 3 days.
Yeah. If somebody wants to do it, we can do it.
That's funny. So, it's funny you say that though. You set these little imaginary goals for yourself. I do the exact same thing. I won't let myself go to the bathroom until something's done. I won't go get I'll reward myself like, okay, I got to write this email. Or I got to make this video. So when I do that, I will, after I do that, I can go get a cup of coffee or an apple cider or something. Or like when I'm working out, I'll say, hey, if you do this, then you can do this. Like if you get this time on your run, then you can stay in the shower for an extra 5 minutes, or you can have this with breakfast, or just little stuff like that to turn on the short-term goal achievement mechanism 5-year-old and inner toddler.
This is exactly why challenge funnels are so popular, because they're based on daily or little incremental wins and rewards. Yeah. So you and I are in the habit of rewarding ourselves in our own head to do this. A challenge funnel does it because when you're done with that day's training or that daily training, you have a result you can look at and go, oh my gosh, I just achieved something. I just did it. I didn't have to do the big thing. I did the little thing, and the little thing feels amazing that I got to do this, that I did it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's balancing, because a lot of the things that we do, if you think about copywriting, not necessarily ads, because you can get the feedback on an ad really fast. But typically, if you write a sales letter or something big honking like that, a lot of delayed gratification in a lot of ways. It's a big project that takes a while to do. So sometimes it's hard to stay motivated, but if you can build in little rewards for yourself to be able to see either see the result or just to get a little prize moving along, you'd be amazed at what you can get done if you know how to push your own buttons.
Right. So I'll look at, let's say, a challenge sales letter, and I'll say, okay, if I can get my hook and headline, that's going to drive it. And if I can do that and do the entire lead, the first 1,500 to 2,000 words in the morning, by the time I get to lunch, that's great. And then after lunch, I focus on the story, then into, okay, here's the offer from the story. Here's why, who it's for, who this is not for, all of those chunks that you see in a sales letter. That's how I set it up for myself. I block it, and I get those little rewards. And if I don't do it, I'll say, if I don't do this, I can't watch Lord of the Rings with my wife tonight.
Right. And that you might laugh, but I do the exact same thing. It's a way you got to know how to pull your own strings. You got to know how to push your own buttons. You got to know what motivates you and gets you to do stuff. But you just gave a really good clue that works not just for copy, but for life as well. If you think about, I got to write a big sales letter, you ain't going to do it. But if you break it down into the individual building blocks, it's like, okay, well, I can get the headline done. I can at least get the headline. Okay, now I got the headline. That's pretty exciting. And you say, what's the lead, or you can even break that down even more though. What's the grabber? What's the shocking statement? What's the benefits, depending on what model you're using, what I'm saying. But what's the problem? Okay, how can I make the problem worse? How can I agitate this? How can I make this really, really just mean and then really make it hurt? Okay, now how would I introduce the solution? All right, now it's just, if you don't look at the whole, but you just look at each individual part, it makes it easier no matter what you're doing.
Exactly, because most of us get hung up or stopped and procrastinate because you see, oh my God, I got to go from here to here. And you're ignoring all these steps in between, or you're looking at them as a whole and saying, oh my God, that's too overwhelming. Instead of looking at this, get this done, get this done, get each step of the way. That's why challenges are so successful. That's why people do them, because you're taking these baby steps.
Right.
Here, that's a challenge is an external force acting on you with an external reward where you feel it internally. If you're doing this on your own, oh gosh, how do I get this done? I have to build my own funnel. Now you have to maybe try what Jim and I are suggesting, is create your own internal reward system and see how it works. It's going to be different for everybody.
And turn your to-do list into your own personal daily challenge. If you looked at your to-do list, like today, this is my daily challenge. What is my reward for today? And one of the things I also will do on my calendar, on my to-do, my daily planning thing, is I will plan out cool stuff that I'm going to do during the day. Like if I do this, I can go play Xbox for 20 minutes. I can go harass some 6th grader on Call of Duty and ruin their afternoon.
If I don't get this done, my chickens don't eat and they'll die.
Yeah, usually I don't do stuff that encourages PETA to show up at my house. But I see where you're going, Dean.
But then again,
you have no livestock.
But then again, you might want to do that because Pamela Anderson could show up at your door.
If it was Pamela Anderson from 20 years ago, sure, but not Pamela Anderson today. She's anyway, creepy looking. That's just me. I think though, one of the other things that I'm learning from this one funnel away is I don't know where I got this, and I'm not really learning it, but we constantly get these ideas reinforced in our brains. Is that when you commit to doing something, it's easy to commit to something when you're comfortable it's easy to commit when you're well rested and you're watching TV and looking at your email on your phone and you're saying to yourself, yeah, that'll be fine. That'll be cool. Yeah, that'll be all right. In fact, that'll be great. Yeah, I can do that. It's kind of like signing up for a Tough Mudder or a Rugged Maniac or a 26-mile Go Ruck or something like that. But when you're in the middle of it, you're like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
But what you have to do is realize and keep that vision of where you're ending up. Why are you writing this sales letter? Why do you need to write this email sequence? What's the payoff of getting this done? And you need to hold on to that when inevitably you want to quit or you want to procrastinate or you want to take a break or you want to go do something else. And I'll come back to this later. And then later never happens. You've got to have that vision. It's my whole life is a balance of long-term vision and translating that long-term vision into short-term rewards that will sustain me while I'm moving towards that big thing, whether it's creating a funnel, writing a sales letter, creating a membership, creating software, doing all that stuff. Does that make sense? You still with me, Dean?
Please be aware. Can I hear you?
Yeah,
one of the
I can
things
hear
is
you
that
now.
each time I take on a new project, oh, okay. You couldn't hear me in a moment before?
It was
Okay.
like you were frozen.
One of the things, okay. One of the things, whenever I take on a new project with a client or take on a new client, whatever, and I say yes, I scare the dickens out of myself because this is the one where they're going to find out I'm a fraud. I'm an imposter. And I always get that twisty feeling in my stomach like, oh man, why did I do that? Why did I say yes this morning to taking on this challenge funnel? You know how much work this is? All of this is going on in my head.
Yeah.
So and it's a way where I put myself in a situation where I enjoy, once I sit down with it and I start to think about it and ruminate a little bit, and I look at if I'm going for a great hook or headline, that driver, and it comes to me, I start to get excited and nothing else matters. The world just blocks out and and it's because of habit. It's because of experience, because it's just doing and working a muscle over and over and over again. It just starts going. And there's something so satisfactory about when that first draft or that final draft of the sales letter is done. I'm going, man, that was wow, what a ride. What a ride. And I'm always grateful. I'm always grateful for the work. And even the stuff that comes in where things are incredibly challenging or difficult that are outside your control, like a client that's just driving you bats and up a wall, you get the work done. And I've said, I'm glad I went through that, but with this type of a client, I would never do that again. I got to set a healthy boundary. So I always learn something from it. That's I need to say no to certain things at the beginning of the game, right?
Absolutely.
So that you have rules and you have certain healthy boundaries in place. And this is your own challenge, right? To say, I got to make this as enjoyable as possible, even though it's challenging me and it's painful at times, but I know at the other end, I'm going to come out of this feeling pretty good.
Yep. Absolutely. So something else that I've learned from the One Funnel Away Challenge and this is a good transition talking about specific copywriting stuff. But James asked a question, what's the best way to come up with unique angles? And that's one of the most important things in the One Funnel Away Challenge is the angle, because of the way Russell's doing it with the frameworks and just getting into it quicker and focusing on selling something that's like a trip you would think of as a tripwire, paid tripwire thing. It's all about the angle. It is all about the promise, and it is all about the title. It's all about the hook. That's one of the recurring messages that I've been getting across to people is that you're not selling $10,000 coaching here. You can't oversell this. You must not oversell this. You have to hit the highlights quickly because this is a knee-jerk reaction. And a huge percentage of that is the hook, the headline, the title, those elements that, and they can all be one and the same. But the promise that someone is able to immediately just get from the name of the thing that you are actually selling. And that's something that I'm just trying to constantly remind people of, is that if your title sucks, your sales are going to suck. If your headline sucks, your sales are going to suck. If your hook sucks, it's not going to work. You've got to make sure that you spend the time to come up with a unique angle and a unique hook. So what's your number one tip for finding a unique angle when it comes to something that you're creating an offer or website copy for, any kind of copy?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question.
I know. That's why I asked you instead of trying to answer it first.
Find that unique angle. Well, I think you have to look at it as, what are you selling? How is what you're selling or what you're offering or what you're providing, how is it different or unique from your competitors? How is it different or unique from everything else that you've heard of out there before? For me, that's where I start. How do I stand head and shoulders above everybody else? What is special about what I have? And what is the big promise and what is the big result, the big benefit that my audience is going to get with this product, service, or offer in this hook that you're going to describe in your hook or your headline? So that's where I will start. But I have to say, I back up. I say, who am I serving first? Who's my audience?
It was a nice recovery, because I was going to say, that surprises me, Dean, because normally whenever I ask you a question like this, you say, well, the first question I ask myself is, who is my ideal customer?
Well, so I'm hung up on the unique. How do you find that headline? So
just yanking your chain, dude.
I know, but I'm glad you do. You challenge me, Jim.
It's a challenge. It's a copy challenge funnel starting right now. The big thing is, for me at least, looking for the unique angle. The unique angle is not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily has to be something that's even different than what other people are doing. It's the way you explain it, the way that you communicate it, that can create the unique angle. But first you have to know who is your ideal customer and what are their emotional hot buttons. Just like we do with Fill My Webinar Scripts, it's, you got to define the person fully so you can see where the things are that are the pivot points, what's the pain, what's the desire, what's the problem that is really at the core of the matter. Sure, there are problems all the way around. There's like groupings of problems, but there's one, like a doctor. Does that hurt there? Yeah, kind of. Does that hurt there? Yeah, kind of. Does that hurt there? Yeah, kind of. Stop it. That's what you're looking for, is the one where they're like, oh my God, stop.
They just touched a hot stove.
What's that?
They just touched a hot stove.
Exactly. That's where you start. That's the point around which you build your unique angle. And then for me, how you make it unique and angle in the offer, unique selling proposition, all that stuff. But I'm looking for the thing that's going to be the big idea that I'm going to build the message around. And then what makes my solution unique, exciting, proprietary as it relates to that desire or the problem they want to solve. And then I put them together, and that's how you create the unique angle. That's my thought around it.
And I say, and it goes back, and I think it has to do with what's the new opportunity, what's the unique mechanism, and you start with what is the core desire of your audience.
Right.
Those are the three things. So if let's look at Fill My Webinar Scripts. We're going to talk about the core desire of your audience, what's the unique mechanism, and what's the new opportunity. So the core desire is, oh my gosh, most people spend hours or they spend weeks or months writing a webinar, and then they go and do it, and nobody shows up and nobody signs up for the webinar. It's crickets, right? So the core desire is, how do I get people to sign up and show up for my webinar? That's an incredibly strong desire. So what is the new opportunity? The new opportunity is, hey, how would you like a way, without being a professional copywriter, without having to know how to write a single word of copy, how would you like to get people to sign up and show up for your webinar in droves? That's the new opportunity. And the unique mechanism is Fill My Webinar Scripts is the course that we offer, is the software as a service that we offer that writes all the copy of your entire campaign. It would take a professional copywriter 4 to 6 weeks to write all the emails, all 25 emails, all the hooks and headlines for all your web pages that you have to create, the surveys, all the video scripts, and it can be done in 90 minutes at the push of a button. That's the unique mechanism. There's a headline. And what do we start with? After my long ramblings and what you just pointed out, it starts with the core desire of the audience.
And the other cool thing, the other cool thing that we have is proprietary software that makes it push button simple for you to be able to create 25 email. I mean, you can create everything at the whack of a button in about 90 minutes. What? Of course I'll pay attention. That's the unique angle.
All right. Aisha has a question. Can we, okay. And Aisha, do you want to throw that up there? Aisha Tafti?
Hang on, I'm looking. Oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah. How much of this information comes from the client, and how much does the copywriter come up with in terms of brand personality target? It's a great question, Aisha, and I'm doing this right now. So typically, if your clients, and 95% of the time they won't be, if they're not experienced marketers, it's going to be your responsibility to ask the right questions to get the right information. And you may not get it instantly or right away. So you really have to, it's all about the questions that you ask. Bottom line, you have to be direct. And here's the other thing, Aisha, if you're working with clients, make sure that there's only 1, 2 decision makers at most, and make it very clear. Because if somebody's going to somebody and asking, and it's a decision by committee, you're going to have a horrible experience. So you really ideally want to be working with one point person to get your information, your answers from. And sometimes I'll tell you, clients won't. They think they know who their audience is. They think they know that their product is whiz bang wonder bread fantastic. And it's not. And as a copywriter or a marketer or as an agency owner, I don't know what you do, but you've got to be able to, be very direct and find the pony in the pile of poo that they give you.
So one thing you can also do, just to add to what Dean said, is try to interview some of their best customers. So if you can get on the phone, do like a little individual, not a focus group, but do individual client interviews with like their top couple, 3, 4 best clients. That's the way, because what they think they know probably is not the real thing. But then you also got to be careful, because when you come back with copy that's based on that, they may want to argue with you about the copy, because some clients want to argue about the copy. I've never really written copy for a client. What do you do, Dean, if a client wants to argue with you about the copy and why you came up with it a certain way, or you don't have that experience because you're Dean Edelson?
I don't fight with them. And here's what I say. Okay, we'll go with this. 1, you hired me because I didn't approach you. This is in the back of my head. You came to me because I was referred to you. That's how I get my clients, through referrals. You were referred to me. So whoever referred trusted me to do the best job possible. So if this is the way you want it, and I don't see it that way, I am happy to write it this way. They're the ones who are cutting the check. And then I will say, do not come back to me if this doesn't work. I'm going to ask for you, let's do it your way, and let me give you my version and test it, split test it. You could be perfectly right and I could be wrong. This is not a right or wrong thing, but there is testing. And the only The only voice that matters is your audience's, because they are voting with their credit card.
Yep.
So let's do 2 versions of it. Or if you just want to do that version, fine, we'll put it out there. Test it.
Yeah.
And I want to say something to Aisha too, and addressing this question. If you really want the great questions to ask your clients and have a great intake form, and I'm going to do a pitch right here, I highly suggest you buy Fill My Webinar scripts, because the web and avatar profile that Jim and I created inside here is exactly the same thing that you need to get to your clients. Those are the questions you want to ask your clients, because those are the questions that get people to take out their credit cards. It's where you know their audience better than they know their audience, and you know their audience better than the audience knows themselves.
And there you go.
Yeah. And we can say this because we have proof. We did this twice. Jim did it to his ebook for selling an ebook, 2-day summit. And we did Fill My Webinar Secrets webinar. And we ate our own cooking. We used our own product to get people onto this, onto the webinar. We had a 20% conversion rate and a 64% bump upsell rate. So, and a 47% show up rate. That's unheard of today. And we're not saying this to pat ourselves on the back or to brag. We're just saying we did an internal launch to test to see if this was going to work.
I was patting myself on the back. Way to go, Jim. Way to go, Dean. Good job, fellas.
So and it's the basis. If you get Fill My Webinar scripts, it's not just for webinars. You can use this for the basis for anything that you do in marketing and for your business, to know your customer so well that you could speak to them and meet them where they are.
Well, there you go.
You assuming or guessing you know.
Excellent. So any other thoughts or questions we want to hit real quick? Otherwise, we will wrap this up. I think the one last big thing that I'm taking away from the One Funnel Away challenge also is a lot of times people want to know like every step before they get started.
Am I doing
this right?
Is this right? Is this right?
Well, but they're worried about what's happening tomorrow or next week.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what's happening tomorrow or next week. It's like worrying during your workout about the 2-mile run at the end. Doesn't do you any good to worry about the 2-mile run at the end until you've done the 5 sets of pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, and other stuff. Don't worry about it. Just focus on what's right in front of you right now. Get it done, and then worry about tomorrow. Because if you take care of today, yesterday will already have taken care of itself, and tomorrow will take care of itself as well. If you just focus on taking care of today. And that's a huge lesson for not only a challenge, but for writing copy, creating copy, and all that good stuff. So that would be another big lesson to share.
Yeah. Aisha wants to know if there's a link to Fill My Webinar.
There is not.
Scripts. No.
There will be, but when we said it was what it was, and it'll come back out again. We're in the process of it coming back out again. So we will definitely let you know.
One question, would you guys use the stealth concept on a webinar? The art of selling without selling, would you say could be counterproductive? One, it would depend on whatever it is you're selling, Facebook user. And the other thing is, why would you want to sell without selling? I mean, that's what an invisible funnel does in a way, but it's still selling.
It's still selling. It's just reversing the process a little bit.
Yeah.
You can't sell without selling. There are just different ways of doing it. Some are more subtle than others. Yeah. But sometimes, here's the thing. You can cheat yourself by worrying about the fact that you're selling. Yeah. People are like, you know what? This is cool. I want to buy it. Just tell me. It's one of those things that you just
a lot of people have this assumption that People want to buy. They don't want to be sold.
Right. They love to buy.
They want to buy. And the thing, if you don't sell to them, they're gonna find what they need from somebody else. So you're doing a disservice by not selling. And there's ways to do it. So you might have a preconceived notion in your head, oh, selling, I don't want to be a used car salesman. You know that. If you're honest and you're direct and you've provided amazing value, the internal voice in most people's head is, wow, if he's giving me that for free or she's giving me that for free, I want what they're selling must be amazing.
Yeah. To some degree. Yes. Anyway, yes, you're right. Sorry, I was having too many different thoughts running through my head. We had somebody. We'll answer this one and then we're done. But and I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but regarding webinar script, I've been listening. Huh?
Bananamek.
Chimadors. Okay. I've been listening to a number of webinars during 2020. I'll follow the same pattern. In closing, CT endings are always too lengthy that you get bored and want to stop it. How to make more interesting, because already at the beginning you feel like it's going to be never ending at the end. So that's real simple answer to that. The reason that the webinar feels like it never ends, bouillon, okay? Or bouillon. The reason for that is either the targeting or the content. If the content sucks, then it's boring. If the content's interesting to you, then it's not boring and you're not being sold. It all comes back to the content and whether or not it's of interest to the target audience. And the reason that the pitch feels too lengthy is because they're probably not building the value or delivering the pitch in such a way that it's exciting and building anticipation. So the other thing, though, that can happen, and the reason it'll suck, is that they beat around the bush and they take 15 minutes to explain something that can be done powerfully in 5 minutes. That's another reason why they suck and they're boring.
Right. They're not telling compelling enough stories.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing that makes a webinar interesting and people hang on every word is having great stories. You're absolutely right, Dean. In the end, it's having the stories. The stories are what are the glue that hold everything, including their attention, together. Absolutely. Great point. All right, everybody. Well, Dean, great job. Wonderful to be with all of you again. Happy New Year. We're excited that you're here. We're excited to share with you week after week after week. And Dean and I have some pretty cool, exciting things coming up for you all this year. So we will see you guys next week. And Dean, great job. And we'll talk to you soon. Shall we end with a polka?
Absolutely.
Mr. Pickles! Woo! Polka, polka, polka! Bye-bye, everybody!